What you see behind me is a hedgehog cage. Just got a hedgehog, super excited, but we need to make a few modifications. It is dark, hedgehogs are nocturnal. It is not quite night, but it's close. They need a heat lamp. They need to be in about 74-degree weather. Now you can see our thermostat is reading a little bit lower than that, but our sensors aren't super close to the heat lamp. So I know it's about 76 right now, but the heat lamp is hanging somewhat precariously with a clamp on the core so it doesn't drop lower. I'm going to build an aluminum frame that spans across the cage this way. It'll bear on these bars. I'm going to use some aluminum angles, and the globe, the metal globe, will just fit right on those angles and sit above. I'm going to get a second heat lamp just to balance out the heat because it's a little bit chillier than it needs to be. And while it's about 78 degrees right under the lamp, as you can see, it gets to about 72 once you get off the side. Right in the middle, it's about 76, 78 degrees. So I'm going to build a frame for this lamp. I'm going to build two for the second heat lamp that's coming, and it's going to span the cage. All aluminum rivets, very easy. I'll show you how to do that real quick. So this is just 3/4 aluminum angle. I've measured the cage, and I need it to be 23 inches long to span the cage, and that leaves about a 1/2 inch overhang. I'm just going to put a notch in the aluminum so it sets on the metal bars. And I'm going to do some cross braces. This is a sketch of the metal dome for the heat lamp. It is 5.75 inch diameter, so I'm going to make my spacing about 5 7/8 just to give it a little bit of leeway, and I'm going to have some cross braces. Basically, I'll set it up where I'll have the aluminum angle going across, and I'll have just some short cross braces. So I have 5 7/8 square center for the globe just to sit in there. That way it won't fall. There's no concern, because right now it's just hanging a little precarious. I'm just going to use a hacksaw to cut these pieces. Once it's done, I'll drill holes in it, pop rivet it. It'll look great. Very simple, and it'll be removable if ever the need shall arise. I've got my piece of aluminum clamped down. Why do I clamp it? Because if this thing is moving around, you are wasting efficiency, and it's going to take you longer to cut. You're just creating friction and heat. Here is my hacksaw. It is a Linux. I only say that because, you know what, it's a nicer hacksaw. I've had the cheaper hacksaws. This one is so much better. And I'm going to need 2 hands to cut, but I've made my marks right there in pencil. And I'm just going to cut that line and try to cut as straight as I can. When I'm done, I'll just use a belt sander to, or just a file, or even just rough grit sandpaper to smooth out that cut, because it will be a little bit jagged. Nature of the game. So what's happening, the table on this side is a little bit higher and it's causing my aluminum to bind. So I raised it with this block, and I'm going to finish cutting this thing. We'll be done soon. I'm going to use a file just to smooth out some of these edges. The cuts, they leave it a little bit rough. Get outside edges, inside edges, just so it's nice, because right now it's a little rough to the touch. Make it a little bit nicer to handle. I'm going to measure out the center line of my pieces so I know where to put everything. So I want these heat lamps centered, and my cuts were good, which is always handy when your cuts are good. So the 23-inch length, my center line is right at 11.5. So I've checked my dimensions. I've placed these things in place and spaced it 5 7/8 in between. And I know for a fact that I need 4.5 inches in between. So off my center line, I did a 2 1/4 each way, just so I know where to kind of line that up. Maybe if I'm off by 1/8 inch, even 1/4 inch, it's not gonna make a big deal. Like, you know, I've got 3/4 inch aluminum here, which is fine. But I'm trying to get things kind of in roughly the right order, making sure that I have 6 inches side to side here, 6 inches there, because I want 5 7/8 in between. 16-inch aluminum, that'd be 6 inches out to out. All my dimensions are lining up perfect. So the next step is to drill a hole center, horizontally and vertically in these pieces, and that's where my pop rivets will go. I'll pop rivet from the bottom because I want it to look clean from the bottom, and the dome, well, the dome actually won't cover from the top because it's curved, so it'll just kind of hit in there. But that's okay. I guess do I pop rivet from the top or bottom? I'm gonna go bottom. I want the bottom nice and smooth, no protrusions. So I'm gonna double check my measurements and then drill these things, and I can get this thing together. I just eyeballed it. I did a quick, just a rough crisscross with my pencil. You know, it didn't have to be perfectly center. That is going to be awfully close. I always use a punch with metal. You know, punch your mark and hammer it and get a little indentation. Your drill's going to want to walk on metal. It's just the way it goes. So I've drilled a hole in my first piece, and I'm just lining that up with this one using my right angle to make sure it is square. And I'm going to use that to mark where to drill a hole through this piece. Once I get a hole drilled through both these pieces, it's ready to pop rivet it, and then you just repeat at all 4 corners. Aluminum is very soft, so the punch works quite well in aluminum. Alright, so I've got the joint all the way through. Now it's time to take a pop rivet. And I just have a simple riveter. Before I do that, let's make sure I can get my pop rivet all the way through. And the question still is, do I want to go through the bottom or the top? That is a good question. Always a difficult question. Alright, my pop rivet is in there. Because if if in the bottom you're going to see it's going to balloon that end. I don't know. I think I want to go through the bottom. And that way the bottom rail will just look a little bit cleaner. Let me get a file and clean that up a little bit. And that is it. It is in there. You can see it ballooned that. And we are good to go. It is nice and solid. I mean, this thing is not carrying a lot of weight. It's not going to have much tension on it. So let's get the rest of these rivets in. Here it is, the finished product, almost. I've got, yeah, it looks pretty clean. So the globe will just sit right here. I do need to notch the ends. I'll just notch those up, I don't know, 1/2 inch maybe. No, this is 3/4, so I'll probably notch them up like 1/4 to 3/8. Don't need to be notched much, just enough to kind of seat into the sides of the frame, or the sides of the cage. That's it, man. Yeah, that's with the rivets. It looks pretty professional.